Hello, hello, hello. Oh, great. Subtitles are working. Everything's coming up, Fiona. Hello, everyone. My name is Fiona. I use she, her pronouns. I am a white woman with very long hair that needs a cut, and I'm wearing a grey shirt with a lightning bolt, kind of like Ziggy Stardust on it. And I am the host of this stream, a accountability stream called Too Long Didn't Read TTRPGs, in which we will read a TTRPG that has caught our attention, whether it is from the bookshelf of doom off camera or from the Google Drive of mystery. I hope you're all doing well, my friends. Yeah, I'm going to have to sort out my schedule. Because yesterday I was all ready to go, and then I'd forgotten I'd made plans with my partner to go and sort out our taxes. So this is a delayed stream from yesterday, and then I realised I'd put two streams on the same day, and I was like, good lord, I need to have a sit down and look at it. But that's all fine. You know what? Happy Friday, wherever you are in the world. I appreciate the world is still on fire in various parts, both literally and metaphorically. Have you got any good plans for the weekend? Those people in chat or those people watching later? I would love to know. My plans this weekend are not doing any editing. I just finished a big edit for for one of my podcasts going out on Sunday. I'm hopeful that people are going to enjoy it. Fingers crossed. I've worked really hard on it. God, the bells are quite loud, aren't they? So I got that, but also I've got a bookcase that's arrived. And honestly, I can't wait to just have most of my fiction books just off the floor. We've got all, the priority went to my TTRPG books, which are all nicely up there in the bookshelf of doom. But I need one for the bedroom. So I've just got books hanging around, and they're all piled high on my little bed table, the bed's nightstand sort of thing. And that's great, but I can't. It's got to a point now where it's very silly. So I need to make that bookshelf. And in very exciting news, I was very lucky that my partner bought me a new bike recently. I was using my father-in-law's bike to drive about town, and then in early January, I did a silly thing and I wrecked the back tire. And nothing dangerous or anything like that. I just overinflated it, and the cold weather, it just went in a tube, which just went boof. And it didn't seem worth replacing just yet, because obviously it was freezing cold. We had lots of snow where we were, and so I wasn't going out. So I was kind of gutted. And then my partner was like, "Look, tell you what, why don't we get you your own bike?" Because I'd always struggled with that bike anyway. Long story, I can ride bikes, obviously, but it was one of those ones which got gears on both sides, but then they do different things, and they do it in opposite to each other. So if you're dyspraxic, it's very hard to work things out. So I was just not getting off hills, and I looked very embarrassing. But now I have a beautiful brand new bike, which is great. Honestly, as soon as I got on it, I was like, oh, it's so much better. And so yeah, and it's got little bell, and it's just looking great. And so I'm going to take that out for a spin tomorrow, which I cannot wait. It's going to be a nice, slightly warmer now, to the point where we do have a storm warning later today, a firestorm warning. So swings and roundabouts, which I'll find out with my bike, I'm sure. But anyway, that's enough rambling. I just thought I'd tell you how my day's been going. Let's get right into it, shall we? So this is another quick start. We've already done one this week, which didn't end up as well as it could be. Oh, Flightless Heron, hello, my friend. That is lovely news. Transport which is well suited to your needs can make all the difference. That is true. I mean, again, I'm very privileged in that sort of sense of a bike can be a lot of money and stuff like that. And I was very grateful to my father-in-law for him gifting me his bike, but it was made clearly for him and not for me. And because I was somebody who hadn't ridden a bike for over 10 years because I'd never needed to, and now I'm just oh gosh. So it's very exciting. So thank you. That's very, very kind of you. I hope you're doing well today. But yes, we've already looked at a quick start this week, which was let's say we had a bit of a... I'll be honest, I wasn't a fan of it, of Fallen London RPG, although it is funded. Regardless, I just think that the writing of it was too overlong and explanatory. Even though the system was fine, we needed more in the setting for me to be really invested in it. However, we're going to still carry on, and today's RPG... Testy Trekkie, hello, I've just said it, but I just briefly got it. Yes, it's a Fallen London quick start, which I think had a lot of promise, but then we got to page 8 and then page 13, and they overly long on it. Rascal wrote an article on that. What? I'm guessing on Fallen London and not not about my bike. I don't know if you saw it. No, I will have a look at it afterwards. Were they positive about it? Again, I won't go into much because obviously you can watch the stream where I was in it. It was Fallen London. Okay, great. I will say, I really, again, as someone who's never played it, I really enjoyed the concept of it right at the beginning, and then it just completely didn't do anything with it. not that positive. Yes, if Rascal says it's not positive, I feel like vindicated as a result. Great, I'll have to read it up later. Anyway, sorry, that's a different stream that we did. We're today looking at something called Mad as Hell. This is the latest offering from Soul Muppet Publishing. They are most famous for games such as Orbital Blues, which is about sad space cowboys, Inevitable, which is about sad Arthurian cowboys, Paint the Town Red, which is about sad vampires, and now Mad as Hell, which is about the evils of capitalism and demon hunting. Classic. They also are well known. Certainly, I remember when I first interviewed them for where they did Best Left Buried, which was this idea of like a West Marches type game where you would delve deep into the dungeons, and so lots of different offerings of that. And I'm a big fan actually of Soul Muppets games. I think they've got some really cool ideas, and like I'm always a big supporter of UK indie TTRPG folks. And so yeah, and I know Zach who works there and has built up this place, this company in Nottingham, and yeah, so I'm always willing to try stuff out. And I think when we looked at Paint the Town Red, Quickstart last time, we really loved it. It looked so beautiful, really evocative, a very long Quickstart, and I think it was interesting to see how it did with the Kickstarter, or its backer kit. Sorry, the sort of funding campaign, which barely reached it, and I thought that was a shame because I think it had some good ideas. But I wondered if one of the things was that in the Quickstart it had stuff like character creation. It had so much in it, and they were giving it away for free, and giving away free physical copies at conventions like UK Games Expo and stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, amazing. I love that sort of stuff, but does that damage then people wanting to get it later? Or is it the concept, like people love sad space cowboys, like, Cowboy Bebop. We don't really have an RPG for that. I know there's the official one now. Arthurian cowboys, again, very unusual. Paint the Town Red, sad vampires, we've already had that a few times with different RPGs. It's just it's that sort of thing. It's like lots of different things. So this one then, Mad as Hell, I am actually quite curious about it, and seeing what has changed from the last sort of quick start we're seeing here. I'll just put another link in the RPGs, in the chat, so people can go and look at it. So it is free. You can get it. Oh gosh! Oh no! Strahd is coming! Oh no! So that's my music for Strahd. Let's turn that back because I was listening to something else the other day. And so I don't have it on, so that's so funny. I was like, oh no, Strahd is coming as soon as I go over. If you want to get a copy of it, it's coming soon to Kickstarter, but if you want to get a free copy of the thing, you have to, I believe, check out via the website, but then I think you can get it on Drive for RPG, I think, but it is free to do. So again, you just have to check out. It's not a quick download, as sometimes we often have. As always, we're going to start off with some disclaimers. One, I'm not a TTRPG designer. I am a reader. I'm a kind of reviewer. I run a lot of games. I read a lot of games, but I've never designed a game myself. So I appreciate how much work goes into it and lots of different moving parts and stuff. As a result, please take all my criticism with critique, with a pinch of salt. Unless you're watching the Fallen London review, absolutely listen to what I'm saying. Obviously I these are all just my own opinions, and I'm looking at it as a point of view as somebody who is brand new to like what the game is, what excites me about it, and would I run it for content? Would I run it for a podcast? Those are my sort of points of views. But equally, could I run it for people who are brand new to RPGs and just want to try something that isn't the big dragon and the big dungeon, right? I'd say you're a reviewer, yeah. Oh, well, that's very kind, yeah. But I'm not a game designer. That's what I'm sort of saying. Is I've never made my own game. The Fallen review is peer reviewed, almost peered second. So that one's gospel. Oh, thanks, thanks, Shahig. Second thing is that I'm not sponsored at all by this. This is all me just doing it out of sort of love, and also learning new things as well, and actually seeing what else is out there. Although I've done a couple of streams. Reviewing sort of or going through the Soul Muppets collection. They've not asked me to do this, and I know obviously Zach and Soul Muppet themselves through various interaction stuff, but again, I'm not being asked to do this. This is off my own back. And then finally, content warnings. Well, let's see. It's going to talk about capitalism, and it's going to talk about demon hunting. Take with that what you will. It's definitely the idea of sort of making. I don't know. I get the sort of themes of that. It's going to be sort of like a little bit of like maybe sort of how do we protest in sort of way. That's what I'm sort of getting from this vibe. Again, we'll go through the content of it. Not content of it, but we'll go for the copy of it soon. Let me see what it says here. a new anti-capitalist demon hunting TTRPG. So yeah, so it's that sort of thing. Like again, it definitely is going to be like maybe some political acts in there, all that sort of thing. So if you're yeah, that's it, aspiring and current activists. There we go. So it's like, how do we organise this? That? If that's not your bag just now because of all the stuff going on in the world, that's absolutely fine. Come back to the stream when you need to. I'll try and flag things as they come up, and certainly if there's any like horror images or anything like that, which might be maybe not safe for work or anything like that. I don't know. We'll find out as we go. All right, friends, we're gonna go away from Big Fiona Face and we're going to go to so we're looking at the Kickstarter page from it, and the reason I do this at the beginning is to show where we can see it and find it. This is actually on the Soul Muppet website. Obviously I'm looking at the US store because that's the one I have access to. This is what it looks like on here. There's not really much information on it here. Again, only way you can sort of check out about it. So I'm going to the Kickstarter because there's a lot more information about it, and that sort of initial marketing copy. So that's what I'm just doing there, but just letting you know the link in the chat goes to the US page. So, and I'm going to move things around because bloody Chrome is just, oh no, good job, Fiona. Take your bingo cards. Fiona's already mucked up the tech. So let's look at the top here. So again, and I will say this, obviously Kickstarter doesn't seem to have much in terms of alt text stuff. This is just obviously the landing page where you can save it and it will launch pretty soon. I'm not entirely sure when, obviously sometime this year. I assume in the next 2 months or so, maybe around UK Games Expo. Usually, from what I remember of Soul Muppet, they usually try and do it around a convention and stuff to get people sort of hyped for it and like, you know, back it then and there. So as we can see here, it's called Mad as Hell, and we've got this image at the top. We've got that sort of like it's almost like a paintbrush style sort of font in red, says Mad as Hell, with a line underneath it, and then we've got an individual wearing a very cool black dress. I wish I could wear a black dress like that. Covered in tattoos, wearing knee-high boots or under knee-high boots, with pink hair, big earrings, and they are holding a sign that says Rise, Shine, and Revolt, and a sort of in a doorway against a black background. Very cool. Again, it's sort of very evocative, and it's a very different art style to, say, Paint the Town Red, which was definitely using that sort of more gothic, almost like sort of like I don't want to say medical illustrations, but that sort of clean cut, like yeah, like a sort of archival images, putting them together, because that was Johan Noor doing that. So, Mad as Hell is a new anti-capitalist demon hunting TTRPG by Soul Muppet, coming to Kickstarter in 2025. Written by Evie Moriarty, with illustrations by Per Yank, Scrap Princess, and Alex Ekman-Lawn. And it says here, play as radicals, members of various communities banding together to fight the literal demons of capitalism. Boom. There's your line. That's how you tag your players in. Done. You're radicals. That's the name of your characters. Your crew or your team is called a community. You're banding together to fight literal demons of capitalism. That's it. You know what your goal is in this game. It's not this Fallen London rubbish where it's like, you can be anything you want. Okay. Let me turn the music down a little bit for me, because, good lord, loud. So the only way to kill demons is to understand what quiet violence created them in the first place. Work out how to solve that problem and turn it into a weapon. You might kill a demon of moldy water with a purifier, a demon of poison-laced diet drugs with its own reflection, and a demon of bigotry with a pride flag. Unless you address the root cause of the problem, the wound in the world will continue to fester, and the demon will be reborn, free to wreak havoc. To defeat the demon truly, you need to make meaningful social change in your communities and to help those around you. Interesting. Okay. I'm just going to check that link to the Quickstart goes. Yeah, it goes to the Soul Muppet store. Amazing. So this game is intended to create a safe, lightly fictionalized environment for aspiring and current activists to become familiar with the methods used in community organization and direct action. It helps provide a structure that mimics the real-world approaches to tackling injustice from a radical lens and take action against capitalism. We're working with writers and sensitivity consultants heavily involved in leftist movements too, which gives everything a strong anti-capitalist slant. Amazing. So let's look at this unique, the sort of USPs of this. I love this paragraph here. What are demons? We've got examples of it. They're not your typical sort of like ones that you maybe see from religion, and certainly not ones that you see sort of from D&D and stuff like that. It's rooted in the modern world. The idea of moldy water, like water shortages. Oh my god, I can't even say it. Water shortages. in the world is a big thing right now. So, certainly with all sort of the warfare going along in certain countries, access to electricity, access to a clean water is such a big thing. Poison-laced diet drugs. I mean, the diet industry, big thing here in the US. The demon of bigotry with a pride flag. We've got 3 different examples of what these could mean, and I'm sure one of them will appeal to you. Maybe that final one, I think, will appeal to quite a lot of people for this game, but equally, I think that's really cool that it's not what we think of, like, when I say demons, I don't, it's me, I think of, like, devils and demons from D&D, so I think that's really cool. It also gives me the vibe of Hollows a little bit from Rowan Rook and Descartes, which talks about these ideas of, like, evil that has been created out of something, and the hollows around them, the sort of environment changes. And the only way you can destroy the hollows or purify it is if you address the root cause, which is the thing here. Otherwise, it's this creature, this thing of this evil just comes back again and again and again, like a big boss monster. But then here's the key thing here. You need to make meaningful social change in your communities and help those around you. How interesting. I backed Hollows. Nice. I know that one. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's obviously that's different. That's more of a combat game. Big boss battles, very Elden Ring. Whereas this feels quite different. That's what I was going to say. Make meaningful social change in your communities and help those around you. I'm very curious of what this means. Because and this is, I think, the crux of the argument that maybe people will not like about Mad as Hell, but not that I think they care, is that people maybe say, well, I don't like playing political games. I don't like playing political games. I want to do this. Here's a fun fact. Any TTRPG you play absolutely has politics in it. Absolutely has that. So you have to engage with it in some way. And that's fine. And I like games that where it's sort of like politics, honestly, like tells you exactly what it is. It's not hidden behind metaphor necessarily. Like, obviously demons here, that's the sort of what they're using, the theme throughout. But I like the idea, say, like, look, you're gonna make meaningful social change. And how we're gonna do that? Well, we've talked to people who do this and actually encourages change, which is amazing, because I can imagine with people who right now in the world really want to get into activism and show support for whether it's part of their own community or for a different community. Like, how do we do that? Sometimes it's very overwhelming to know where you can start. I know for sure there's some places you don't name money, but maybe you don't have financial means to do so. Do you donate your time? Do you where can you start? And I think having a game like this, which can encourage people to start thinking about it and be a safe place to maybe ask those really obvious, silly questions. But I think that's sometimes what happens is that, and I understand this burden a little bit, is that, the go-to answer when anyone asks a question, someone's like, oh, just Google it. And I don't think that's as helpful as it can be. And I don't get me wrong, I appreciate the burden of constantly being the person that's asked questions to do stuff. I absolutely get it. And, your mileage may vary. But if someone's genuinely asking a question because they're interested and want to get involved, we should give people that chance. And I wonder if this is a way to sort of intend it rather than go, oh, just Google it. Because let me tell you, Google is not helpful. Certainly with the new AI stuff that keeps coming in. So yes. So yeah, I think this particular bit of marketing copy, this sort of thing, certainly for the splash page, it's amazing. Love that. And we've got some examples of the image as well. Very sort of like graphic novel-esque is what I'm thinking as well. We can see here this image here, people killing creatures. There's a horrific thing in the background behind the boiler. We don't know who that is, but oh, terrible. And that's it. That's all we have there. I think the only thing I'd say, and I think this is something I have as a critique of the website for Soul Muppet in general, is that they tend not to have too much in terms of copy. And their website clearly is optimized for mobile devices, which is fine. I totally get that. But it's not, I feel like there's not enough text about the stuff. Or maybe it is just very, very reduced. I'm not sure. But yeah, I definitely would love a little bit more about Mad as Hell on here. But it's going to Kickstarter. I mean, you've got all the stuff there. Oh, there's some stuff here. Ignore me completely. There's some bits and more pieces there. Perfect. But I always think more examples of like artwork, stuff like that. I just find it really weird on a computer with lots of white space. But I think that's because it's optimized for mobile devices. Fair enough. All right, team. Let's dive in to the quick start. So here it is. The quick start itself, as always, we always talk about the page count. It's 44 pages, so significantly less than the Paint the Town Red book. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I put it on scroll just now. So yeah, we've got this this cover image at the top. Firstly, important thing, it says "Mad as Hell" on the sign now, where the individual had it, and it says "Quick Start" in big letters. So we know it's the Quick Start. Amazing. There's no alt text, unfortunately. But more important, I think, look, we've got the logo for Soul Muppet. Great. Put your name on it. I know that sounds so silly, but like I always feel like if you don't have it in your logo, you need to put it somewhere. Because again, this image is a very cracking image, but all it takes is someone to just cut that bit at the top, take the image out. I just think like, Mad as Hell. Okay, it's a Quick Start. I'm sure if you type in Mad as Hell, Quick Start, you may get this booklet. But if you type in Mad as Hell, you're not going to get anything, I think. That's the only thing I would say. Look at this horrific image. Oh, amazing. It looks like, I want to say, it's some sort of eldritch creature. With like, it looks like, I want to say a mixture between maybe an otter and a dog with the sort of eyes and the nose. And it's just got a mouthful of teeth. Which are slimy and various rows like a shark. And they've got some text here, which is readable. It says, "What sphinx of cement and aluminium bashed open their skulls and ate up their brains and imagination? Moloch, solitude, filth, ugliness, ash cans and unattainable dollars, children screaming under the stairways, boys sobbing in armies, old men weeping in parks. Moloch, Moloch, nightmare of Moloch, Moloch the loveless, the mental Moloch, Moloch the heavy judger of men." I assume that is something from this, maybe a book of some sort, by Allen Ginsberg. Fair enough. Gotta love a quote, I guess. All right, then we go to the actual contents page on page 3. Interesting. So this, they've got these. I always found it really interesting. We've got the credits on the left here, which is good. I've got this. Does it say Soul Muppet anywhere? No, we've got sensitivity readers. Basil writes. Oh, Laurie O'Connell. Oh, great. Some layout there. Yeah. Again, I'll just put here underneath. I know it sounds silly. I always put like my name on things. We've got the Mad as Hell, very distinctive logo. And then what have we got? We have a player's guide. We've got the game rules. I can see a bit about safety tools there. Absolutely great. Running games, and then something in the water. That will be the quick start we've got here. And presumably, EndNote Reality, classic. Presumably there's some pre-generated characters in here as well. What was I going to say? It looks like this is all, just having a quick click around, this looks like it is bookmarked, which is good, great for accessibility. And again, but yeah, no alt text on the images up top there, which is a shame, because obviously we've got some beautiful images. All right, going through, we've got sort of like that art piece we saw from the Kickstarter before of people fighting the demon with what looks like very many eyes, or holes perhaps. We'll move on quickly just in case. Fighting in the basement. And here we go. We've got the first one here. I'm going to zoom in a bit. And this chapter goes, The world is built with blood. Is the name of the chapter. Is that the chapter title there? No. I think it's just a bit at the beginning. How lovely. All right, we're going to zoom in. Nathan says the art is looking great. Good selling point for the quick start. Yes, well, absolutely. I'm saying it was very different, very different to their previous quick start with Paint the Town Red, which was using more archival stock images that were put together because that was using Johan Nor's work. But yeah, let me tell you, the illustrator. We find where are they? Art by Per Yank. There, so Janke. So yeah, you can go probably find their stuff out there, but yeah, really good artwork, isn't it? Good pieces, very evocative. I look at the eyes on this person here, stabbing down with, presumably on some sort of like, I want to say some alien like face hugger. All right, let me zoom in. Okay, so now you know the truth. You can't look away. Something has always been wrong, but it took the enemy standing over you, hands dripping red, for you to understand what it is. All the misery, oppression, and horror of capitalism and the modern world is creating nightmares. Literal demons crawl from wounds in the world and hunt those those who are already suffering the most. And the rich and powerful know about it, and they want it that way because it keeps them on the top of the pile. No more. It is time for radicals to band together, hunt the demons of capitalism, and then undo the evils that made them. It is time to put those demon dealing fucks who live rich on our pain to the torch, and to stop this shit once and for all. Now here's the thing. So, again, I'm no prude. I always think it's interesting when, again, I'm trying not to tone police as well. I'm thinking back to the Paint the Town Red, which also used quite a lot of swearing in the game as you were reading it, and it a lot more so that it made me to the point where I was like, I understand the anger behind it and stuff like that, but I didn't feel necessarily comfortable giving someone the book to read through, like, without going, just maybe don't read it aloud. Maybe don't give it to someone who, maybe who's interested in vampires, but, again, it's that sort of thing where, like, I always find when you use swearing to get across a point, it's that, and maybe this is just very old-fashioned of me, it loses the appeal. Not saying that for this. And the reason I say it is that I remember, like, in improv, we get told as soon as you swear, that's it. That's the kind of the end of it. Like, it's not funny anymore. It becomes serious and it becomes aggressive. So that's the only thing I'd say. But again, this is supposed to be a game about taking things back, being motivated, and maybe that's what it is. The swearing is the key way forward. And so yeah, I don't want to take away from that. But there's always something that comes to the back of my mind when I see swearing in a TTRPG, certainly in a free Quickstart as well. I do wonder if I know it's a deliberate choice, and I always think like, I'm not so sure about it personally. But that's by the way. I just remember in Paint the Town Red, it was so much that I was like, whoa, let's just, is this person okay? But let's take it, like the first two paragraphs we have, it is a very strong point of view. And I like it. It gets to the point, this is rubbish. We have got to get everyone together. And yeah, it makes total sense that they will do that. So what a great start. Again, this is the sort of thing, actually, now that I think about it, I would read out aloud when I'm starting a game, right? When you're getting people around the table, go, okay, you all know the truth now, so you can't look away. Improvising around it, I think, because it sets that tone. It's that sort of opening ritual that people do. So I think that's really cool, actually, to have a little bit of copy that you could easily read out. So I think it's something I'd absolutely read out to my players. I think it's that sort of thing where I am very careful. Like, would I be able to read this on a stream, for example? That's the sort of thing I'm thinking about. So what is this? So Mad as Hell, which is in a slightly different font, but is readable, good, is a tabletop role-playing game, a kind of collaborative storytelling where you and your friends will tell tales of capital, demons, and radicals, opposing both. You're currently reading the Quickstart, a version of the rules that lets you play a single adventure in the game with pre-made characters. And to play, you need 3 to 6 people, one of whom will take the role of the games master, the GM, so we don't even get a cool name. Come on, you've given the name Radicals. Give us a cool name. Like, I don't know. Voice of the people. I don't know. Like, I wouldn't, yeah, I mean, maybe it's tricky to give that, but I need a cool name. If everyone's called Radicals, I want a cool name. They populate the setting, speak as most of the people in it, and narrate the action as you hunt demons. The rest of you will take on the role of radicals, in bold there, the individuals who've decided with the backing of their communities, another bold there, to fight demons and make the world a better place. So instantly, again, I know I say this all the time, but it's like, here are the key game terms in bold. So game master, radicals, communities. Boom, done. I'm always a big fan of that. It's trying to get you into the head like, hey, this game, here's some special terms, and once you get the terms right, or you start using them more, you feel more immersed. That's why I always go on about like having a cool name for the game master, even if it's like, I know I always go back to like Master of Ceremonies or The Keeper, but it makes you feel like, oh, we're all in this together, like radicals and the voice, I don't know, something like that. You might play for just a session, fighting against a specific demon, or you might follow a group of radicals through many struggles as they try to make the place they live a little better over time. You also need some pencils, paper, and some 6-sided dice. Okay, so the usual things that you would need. I will note that with this Quickstart, we didn't get any separate character sheets. Obviously, I know there's going to be pre-gens probably at the back with the adventure, but still, it would be nice to see what a character sheet would look like, but that's okay. All right, next page we've got here. So this section provides a very quick outline of the basics you need to know to play a game in Mad as Hell, or play in a game of Mad as Hell. Great. You know what? I appreciate the clarity. This is what you need to know. Brilliant. And then we've got two columns. We've got the setting on one side and the rules summary on the other. And in fact, that is just one page. Wow, it's already better than the Fall of London RPG. So the setting, we're going to read the left-hand column first. So the setting says, the excesses and hidden violence of our current capitalist society create wounds in the world from which demons emerge that hunt the vulnerable. You are a radical, someone who has realised this and wants to fight back. You are part of communities that understand the threat and support you. To kill demons, you need to understand the quiet violence that created them and use symbolic responses to it as banes. You might kill a demon infected with bleach, or defeat one of bigotry with the pride flag. Quiet violence is all the institutional, structural, and hidden. Quiet violence is all the institutional, structural, hidden, and poorly understood violence that capitalism and entrenched power structures do to others, that is either excused by society or not seen as important to confront unless forced to. You can also use things you've made with your own hands, crafted by communities without capitalism involved, into weapons against demons. Salt made from seawater to keep them out, weapons napped from flint to kill them. If you don't fix the problem that spawned them, the demon, or one similar to it, will come back after a few weeks. While hunting demons, radicals work with their communities to solve problems that made them. Society at large does not understand and will never accept that demons are real. No authority is coming to help you. There you go, that solves the problem of but what about the police? The tools developed by capitalism can never record demons because they are part of the same system. Oh, they don't see the reflection of themselves. You can't gather evidence that anyone in the system will believe. Now that is interesting. So you maybe can't capture them like a picture on a camera or a phone or CCTV footage. Interesting. Okay, rules summary. So, characters have 3 stats. Again, going for that simplicity. So we've got solidarity, conspiracy, and militancy. So solidarity is their spirit of togetherness. Conspiracy is their ability to plot and scheme, and militancy, I think that's how I'm pronounced, militancy, is their capacity for necessary violence. Sometimes your success or your failure at a task will be in doubt, and when this happens, you'll need to make a test to see if your radical can do what they intend. When you make a check, roll 2d6 and add the relevant stat to the result. You succeed on a result of 9 or more. So yeah, very similar to Orbital Blues from what I remember of playing for that. I believe that was 8 or more, but a 9 much more makes sense. Again, it's quite difficult. You don't know if you're going to succeed on that. If you fail, things don't work out how you wanted them, and some complications are introduced into that scene. If it is a high stress check, your radical might get hurt, in bold there. If you fail a check, you can use exertion, a desperate burst of effort to re-roll dice. When you do, it is at the cost of gaining distress. Distress is a measure of how tired, stressed, and downtrodden your radical is, and the higher it gets, the more risk there is of getting them hurt. Fair enough. So we've got these two sort of that sort of main resource, and then sort of again that stress that leads on to hurt. Okay. And then it says radicals are a part of several communities which have a cohesion rating to represent how closely knit they are. You can tap a community you're in for a benefit, but it reduces their cohesion if it costs the community or introduce risk. Radicals also have a privilege, which is a benefit that comes with a downside, but you can use it as much as you like. Radicals have one or more tokens that are powerful items imbued with special abilities that give them an edge. Okay. Now, obviously, there's some bits of this where I'm like, well, what is a benefit? What does that mean, really? Cohesion rating. But what a great rule summary, right? And that's just a couple of very short paragraphs, even just like a line or two on a page that is sharing it with the setting. That Fallen London one took like several pages. But yeah, I like that so far. It kind of makes sense. Again, easy. It's just 2d6. And you just got to get a 9 or more. Simple, simple. Okay, so now we've got what looks like some principles. So we've got stuff around the table and in the game. I think that's quite interesting. So it sounds like these are principles for both the radicals, sorry, and the GM. Sometimes with games they sort of split them into different places, and that's mostly because through the layout and stuff like that. Oh, well, this is a section for players, and they're going to read this, but here's a section for GMs, and they're going to read this. I think for the Quickstart, it totally makes sense to have it all together as one, and principles for everyone playing the game. So just saying like around the table as we're sitting down, getting into it, and then in the game itself. I think it's very important to make those distinctions. So I like that a lot. So what we've got, so around the table, principles are to ask sincere questions and answer honestly in kind. Respect the boundaries of other players, especially when it comes to violence, horror, and traumatic experiences. Take the GM's description of the world without suspicion, but be bold in seeking more detail. Now that is interesting. Take the GM's description of the world without suspicion. They're not trying to lie to you straight off. Man, I wish some of my D&D players would understand that. I'm not trying to hurt them. Give your community colour by adding details, locations, characters, stories, and interpretation. Give other players their moment in the spotlight. Avoid keeping secrets from other players. Be honest and remember that you are bound together in solidarity. And you are not your character. You will know things they don't know, and vice versa. Your character's interests align with your own. Attempt to engage in the material ethically and considerately. Don't let planning and discussion hold you back from the action, but do engage in spirited debate as to the morals of your action. Now that's good. Oh, I like that. Yeah. Planning is always a big thing in TTRPGs, certainly in D&D. I like the idea that do involve spirited debate. Yeah, sounds good. Ask what might happen if I do this, but don't always expect the GM to answer. I say, yeah, it's setting that expectations. What being on the same page. Like, what's the consequence? Especially if you don't know. I always think asking questions of the GM is super important, just to clarify, where things are maybe in the theatre of the mind, but also like you're like, okay, from what I understand, this, and this. Like, I know some people go, oh, but it will break the immersion. I'm like, no, I'd rather you know what you're doing, or what you've got all the information rather than misunderstanding, because then it's my fault as a GM for not explaining it to you, and like I'd rather make sure that we take that extra time to make sure people understand what's going on, rather than be like, oh, I didn't realize, well, I wouldn't have done that. Don't let a discussion turn into an argument, even if the rules invite you to negotiate with the GM. It's very important for a game like this, huh? And it says keep things moving and defer to the GM when things start to drag. Okay. Then we have in the game itself, so embrace radicalism. Your character already has. Understand that your character is a person and they are afraid of realistic reprisal and want to protect themselves and the people that they care about. Accept that communities will become more and less cohesive, and you don't always have full control over that because they're made up of other people too. Exactly, you can't control everyone. It's not like The Sims. Connect with other characters at the table through your communities and shared struggle. Make connections between your characters and the wider world. Lives are on the line, and hunting demons is about protecting people more than anything else. It's not the glory of defeating something, it's protecting people. Make sure you try new approaches and be creative, but keep to what would authentically drive change in the real world, metaphorically or otherwise. There is no single correct solution to any problem. Treat others with solidarity, compassion, and understanding, and know that they are people in their own right. Something going wrong doesn't mean your character is incompetent. It means that the struggle is hard and things don't always go the way you want to. I think that is a very important principle. Like I try to emphasize it a lot when I'm running horror games or I say serious tone games. Is that when you fail, it's not like, oh, oopsie doopsie, you've done something wrong. Oh, it's a farce. Like I know I'm certainly someone that also defers to humor when something goes wrong. But it's because sometimes that struggle is hard, or it's out of your hands, or it's something you didn't plan for. And certainly, I keep going on about it, but Blades in the Dark, we flash back because you knew this was going to happen. You already prepared. So I think something going wrong doesn't mean you are incompetent. It just means the struggle is hard. Great, love that. And then the final one says, play to find out what happens, even if you think you already know. I like it. Be willing to improvise around it. And then we go to the game rules. Let's zoom out a little bit so we can see a good view of this. There we go. There you go. See the full page view. So we have individuals sitting out what looks like on a deck of some sort near a street. We've got some lights over their head. Got some individuals sort of like, I want to say eating. I think that person's smoking. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to zoom in. Oh yeah, they are smoking a pipe. There you go. And they're all listening to each other. And again, it looks like they're all from different walks of life as well, which is wonderful. And it says here, text-wise on the image, it says, yeah, no alt text. Radicals plunge headlong into conflict, danger, and hopefully victory over injustice in the world around them. This section explains the rules we use to mediate whether they succeed in their efforts or are torn down by the forces of reaction. These are really good points for games like Call of Cthulhu too, especially on the points of keeping things moving. Yes, I absolutely agree, Nathan. It's like I said, my issue with Call of Cthulhu books is not only that there's two separate books for the players, for the investigators, and then the keeper. There's a lot of like overlap between them, and I just feel like it could have been reduced down. It's also a little bit hard to read, but yeah, these points I think are great, and I like how it's stuff for everyone. Like you could say like, oh, but understand your character as a person. That sounds like it's more related to your radicals, and it's like, yes, probably it is, but also like when you're playing NPCs, you'd be like, this person, and they'll be afraid to do stuff. So I think that's really good. So good principles for both the GM and the radicals here. All right, first things first. Look at that, safety tools straight up there. It's been a little while since we saw safety tools. I don't think there was any in the. I think maybe there was. No, I think there was stuff in the Fallen London Quickstart. I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, look at this yellow on black writing. Like yellow text on black. I mean, it's very easy to read. I love it. But good lord, it must be a pain to print. It says, "Mad as Hell is a game about difficult and often upsetting things. The horrors of capitalism and abusive power structures that made visceral and immediate. However, it is still a game, and everyone around the table needs to be comfortable and feel safe to be able to play. To ensure that, you should use some of your safety tools. You should use some safety tools at your table. Safety tools are ways of ensuring that, even though the game is dealing with difficult topics, everyone can engage in a way that isn't traumatic or otherwise uncomfortable in ways they don't want to deal with. And don't forget that the game master is a player too. They should fully participate in all the safety tools used at the table." 100%. That's why, and I also would say, if you are if you're streaming and you have a producer who's someone that's just looking after the game, invite them to also fill out the lines and veils as well. I did that for a charity stream, and it was really helpful because the producer said to me, "Oh, actually, here's some lines that I have." And I was like, okay, great. And I was like, whoa, I don't want them to be, part of a stream that they can't X card, because they're not a player, but they're part of it as well. So I was very mindful of it. And it just shows appreciation for your producer as well. And I'd even say, if there's time at the end, ask the producer to give some stars and wishes as well. Like, okay, yeah, they're not a player and stuff, but you see what other people are doing, and you can really point out some things. It's just one of those things. I always think like, yes, the game master is a tool, but anyone else that's involved with make sure that people are safe at the table should be able to contribute. Oh, excuse me. So we've got lines and veils. It goes into a little bit of deep detail here, which is good. I won't go into too much detail, but look, we've credited, because we've talked. So the reason I'm not going to go into it too much is because I want to get on with the actual sort of game, but obviously this is important. But look, they've actually credited, I think they credited it last time as well, so we've got Ron Edwards here and John Stavropoulos. I will one day look, but talking about both lines and veils and the X card. I know though that Jay Dragon of Possum Creek Games has been talking about a new safety tool that they were introducing about called a palette, which is very interesting. I don't know too much about it off the top of my head. I remember I've got their news article from their blog ready to be read. But that was an interesting one because it talked about, from the brief that I saw at the beginning, it was talked about, like, how sometimes lines and veils can be very strict, obviously understandably strict to keep us safe, but what if we want to play a game that covers these feelings, but we don't want other people to feel uncomfortable? Having a palette means that things can change a little bit, certainly if you trust with the people around the table. Like, if you've played several games and you want to try something new, perhaps. So I thought that was really interesting. Maybe I'll try and find that later and have a read about it. But yeah, so it recommends here Lines and Veils and X card, which I think are perfectly actually really good for a quick start. You don't need to go into all the different kinds of safety tools that people might need, like traffic lights or fast forward, rewind, because there's plenty of games that do different things. I think these are perfect for this game. It makes sense, and the simplest, I think. All right, moving on, we have stats. Again, this screen is readable and nice. So it says here, radicals have 3 stats. We've got that solidarity, conspiracy, and militancy. And here, so let's say solidarity is understanding, convincing, encouraging, and trusting. And then underneath it says feats of fellowship. And then conspiracy is deceiving, avoiding sabotage, plotting, feats of subtlety. And then militancy, fighting, destroying, confronting, competing, feats of vitality. So sounds like maybe more physical down there. Solidarity is definitely more sort of like, I would say, encouraging, convincing, so actually, charisma-ish. And then the more sort of thinking sort of stuff like deceiving as well on the conspiracy stuff. Each stat is rated from a +0 to a +2. +0 is the average human capacity, so when a person who hasn't particularly specialised in that area might be capable of. +1 is practiced and skilled, and +2 is expert and impressive. Again, I feel this is very similar to the Orbital Blues system as well. So yeah, during character creation, choose one stat to be a +2, one to be a +1, and one to be a +0. Easy, straightforward. And it says checks. So when you try to do something risky, or difficult or risky, the GM will ask you to make a check using one of the 3 stats to see if you succeed. Roll 2d6 and add the relevant stat. And that's all you need to know. Great. A 9 or greater is a success, and you achieve what you set out to do. Anything lower is a failure. But that doesn't mean a hard stop or necessarily a serious consequence. It's a setback, a compromise, a no but. The GM will offer you a worse outcome, a hard bargain, or an ugly choice. In addition, there are 3 types of special check. So yeah, we've got upper hand and against the odds. So this is their version of advantage and disadvantage. So yes, so upper hand is that you roll an extra d6, so it'll be 3d6, and you'll just get rid of the lowest, so it'll be the top 2 highest results there. And against the odds is that if it's harder than normal, so that's a disadvantage, you roll an extra d6 and discard the highest result as well. Yeah, that's the language they use in Orbital Blues from what I remember. And it says here, escalation. Sometimes a check represents an immediate dangerous task that could result in a seriously bad outcome, such as injury, arrest, or something similarly debilitating. And when this happens, the GM will decide that the check is an escalation. So see page 9 in a second. Okay. Radicals may end up having multiple factors that grain upper hand and against the odds. You can never have more advantage in the upper hand or more disadvantage. So yeah, it's either or. You're not going to have lots of dice to roll. You never roll more than 3d6. Makes sense. But yeah, because like again, any instance of like against the odds cancels out the upper hand. Absolutely. And then it says here, a little box on the side, it says a note on stats and checks. And it says usually the GM decides which stat is being used, but sometimes they may ask the players their thoughts on which stat is most appropriate. And alternatively, the GM can ask players for more specifics on how they are approaching a task, and that answer will determine which stat is being used. Fair enough, fair enough. Only rascals make checks. Yes, nothing for the GM to do. Haha, love that. I love not rolling. I have all these dice sets next to me. I don't ever want to roll in a game. The other characters in the world don't have stats of their own, and their impact on checks may come from applying the upper hand against the odds or an escalation. So, escalation and de-stress checks. So as a radical, you live in a dangerous world. You face down serious threats and enemies and things you do and do things that other people balk at. Escalations are special checks we make when everything is on the line. An escalation might be talking to someone with a gun down in a tense situation, sneaking through a factory at night as a guard patrols, or facing a demon with your homemade weaponry. For some reason, I was going to say homemade pottery. You cannot spend exertion on escalation checks. Ooh, okay. So that's your little resource there. Your adrenaline is already pumping, and the consequences are so potentially serious that you're already giving it your all. So when you make an escalation check, you gain a distress, which we'll see later, and roll 2d6. And a 9 is or greater is a success, and anything lower is a failure. And you make a distress check to see if you get hurt. Okay. So I guess it's like, okay, this is really serious. If you fail, we have to roll the hurt check. Yeah, it's a little bit like failing, getting a 1 on your panic die in Alien, and then having to roll the panic check, for sure. Okay, to make a distress check, you roll 2d6 and compare the result to your current distress score. So if the result is equal to or lower than your current distress score, you get hurt, and if it's higher, then you avoid harm. I see. So yeah, so at first you're going to have you're going to gain, whenever you make these checks, you're going to gain distress each time. And then if you roll over, then you manage to avoid it. But yeah, if you get lower, equal to or lower, then you get hurt. Okay. You avoid harm. The GM will ask if you want a worse outcome, a hard bargain, or an ugly choice. So there's 3 options there. You pick one, and they make it difficult and complicated for you. Okie dokie. Then we have boons. See, I just want to point out that this, again, is in 2 columns, but actually, these columns feel good, like to me. Like, I've always had this thing about columns, and it's because normally it is like big chunks of text. Like, it's just, because they've got too much text, and if they put it straight over the page, it's just going to fill that page and there's not going to be any breaks. So they think, oh, we're going to put it in 2 columns to make it easier to read. And I think what they've done here is really interesting. They made it very easy for you to read as if you're reading on a PDF compared to reading a book. So for example, let's take the boons paragraph here. So this paragraph is actually 1, 2, 3 very short sentences, but it doesn't feel like too much. Same thing here. This paragraph here, when a boon is spent, that's 2 sentences, very short sentences. That's a deliberate thing for like reading online, is that you have really short paragraphs which are made up of maybe 1 or 2 sentences to make it easier to read, and it doesn't feel like a big task. And I very much appreciate that, and I do think you should do that for all of your RPGs. You can see that, and it's also like space as well, so it's not like bunched up text. So not only does it mean that the writing is very efficient at getting the point across, but also it's very easy to read on a PDF as well. And just realised that as I was looking through, I was like, I've managed to read through a lot more quickly than I did with the Fallen London one. Anyway, what is boons? So a boon is a representation of your praxis, of success and power that you've won that you take out into the world. You can use it to change things for the better, and you won't start play with any boons. A radical can spend a boon at any time to automatically succeed on any non-escalation check. On escalation checks, you get the upper hand, ignoring any other conditions. Nice. And when a boon is spent, it is gone forever. The GM awards boons to represent your growth and development over multiple sessions. Great. I wonder, do you get only 1 boon at a time, or do you get multiple of them? Like, is it like inspiration in the sense of like you've got it once, and once it's gone, then you can get another? You know, that's what I would say. My chair keeps slipping down. 1 second. Observation checks. Oh, I like observation checks in Soul Muppet ones. So this is when a radical is attempting to spot something in the environment, detect danger before it ambushes them, or otherwise use their senses. Following the GM's description of a location, object, or character, the player may ask for further details. The GM can decide that spotting some or all of these requires an observation check. And alternatively, the GM may request an observation check to notice hidden details or dangers. And to make it, it's just a straight 2d6. There's nothing added to it. I love that. It's my big sort of pet peeve in D&D is people always going like, well, I want to see what's going on. Well, I've got so-and-so's got the highest perception check, and I'm just there going like, oh, how boring. Well, you asked for it. So this is like, it's just, there's nothing added to it. It's just a simple, straightforward 2d6 check. And an 8 is greater. 8 or more is greater, it's a success, rather than the usual 9. I was going to say, I think that's what I think. I think it is 9 in Auto Blues, actually, and 8 is greater. I do find that interesting that that's the change. And anything lower is a failure. So it says here, 8 or greater is a success. The radical finds the added information, spots hidden details, and detects the danger before it can strike. Anything lower is a failure. The GM will still provide a description, but it might be incomplete, misleading, confusing, unclear, or puts you in a bad spot. Unlike normal checks, an observation check has no modifier, so you do not add anything to the result on the dice. They can be made with the upper hand or against the odds. Though rare, it is possible they may be made into an escalation. Interesting. Okay. Oh, let's zoom out and see this image. Blooming hell. Look at that horrific wall, like brick type creature coming out of the shadows that are following this individual. Alright, what are we doing? Got an hour left. Okie dokie. So, violence. Though many radicals prefer not to do violence, sometimes it is necessary. Sometimes a check will present that violence, fighting with someone or something to get what you want. To make a violence check, negotiate with the GM about your rolls, and then roll an escalation check. So yes, it's pretty bad that you might get hurt if you don't do well. You roll with the upper hand if you have a weapon and the opponent doesn't. You have a firearm and your opponent doesn't. Roll against the odds if it's the other way around, so if the opponent has a weapon or a firearm and you don't. Note on negotiations. So a few fights actually happen because you want to kill someone. Instead, they want to get Instead, they're to get. Wait, hang on. A few fights actually happen because you want to kill someone. Instead, they're to get someone to back down, to escape from somewhere or something similar. Talk through with your GM exactly what you want to achieve. Success on this check gives you what you want, and what violence occurs to get it simply is described by the GM. A note on the myth of non-lethal violence. Excuse me. There's no such thing as non-lethal violence. There is violence that you're trying to make non-lethal, but even a punch can kill someone if it lands wrong. If you do violence, you're accepting a proportional outcome. I think that's a very, very good thing to clarify. Because sometimes that happens when you're fighting in D&D where they're like, oh, I didn't realise I was going to hurt someone or kill someone. I just wanted to knock them out. Like, I remember really early on from one of my first campaigns I was ever in playing, we'd knock someone out and we'd hurt them with a poison arrow, and we were bickering about what to do. And I was like, no, we need to find out information from them. They're like, no, we should hurt them. They're unconscious just now. We should do this. And I was like, no. And I went to spend I think I had cure wounds or something. So I put cure wounds on them, and I spent the spell. And the GM went, oh yeah, your spell has no effect. The person passed away 30 seconds ago. I was keeping a timer and I was rolling their things. And I was like, well, then what? Then why? I would have known that. You know, I was a bit like, oh, well, then I was trying to do the right thing. And it was, yeah, I would have accepted, but there was nothing from the GM. They were just sat back as they were bickering and just like, oh, well, they're losing this point. And I was trying to do the right thing. So I felt annoyed that I hadn't been told that, I wasn't on the same page. And again, I nothing against that GM because we were all learning at the time, but I accept that that was a violent thing, and I was trying to be I was trying to negotiate a little bit, but if I'd known that wasn't going to happen, then that's fine, being on the same page. All right, distress. So fighting demons and worse. Fighting demons and worse, the forces of capitalism or capital can be extremely stressful. Radicals often find themselves struggling with fatigue, minor injuries, minor injuries, and failure. In this game, the consequences are called distress. And if your distress gets too high, you are at serious risk of making a mistake and getting hurt when you're forced to do something dangerous. At character creation, your distress starts at 0, and there are other ways to gain and lose distress. Distress can be increased when you use exertion to re-roll dice on checks. Oh, I see. Interesting. When you make an escalation, you gain a distress, and distress drops when you kill demons or get some downtime. See page 30. I see. So every time you go, I'm going to exert myself, you add a point. I like that as well. Is this a custom campaign brewing session? No, it's not, Ryan. No. We're looking at a quick start called Mad as Hell. So that's what we're looking at. We're going through the quick start there. It's not, sadly, not a custom campaign brewing session, but we're glad to have you here. So we've got these rules here of when we can get our distress. When your distress is low, so up to 5 or so, you're calm, collected, rested, and ready for the fight. Things might go badly for you, but you have your wits about you and can probably avoid the worst outcomes. When your distress is high, so half a dozen or more, so whoa, 6? Sorry, not 6. Oh, it's 6 or more. Yeah, why did it say 6 or more? I was going to say 12 or more? 6 or more. You're strung out, exhausted, in pain, and not able to think straight. If things escalate, you might make mistakes and end up paying the price. Actually, I think I'd say think clearly rather than think straight, personally. Exertion. Okay, so when a radical is truly desperate, they can dig deep and exert themselves to achieve things they never imagined possible. They can turn what seems certain failure into success, but comes at a cost. It comes at a cost. Pushing yourself to the very edges of your ability again and again risks burnout or worse. And this extra effort is called exertion. Sometimes the dice are against you and a roll you really need to go well fails. You can choose to exert to get the result you need in exchange for suffering some stress. After a failed check, use the exertion to reroll any number of dice used in the check. For each dice rerolled in this way, gain 1 distress. Interesting. So say you had 3d6 because you had the upper hand, but you got like a 1-1 and a 6. You could be like, right, I'm going to reroll those 2 1s. And take 2 distress on it. Distress rather than stress. Yeah, that makes sense. You can keep using exertion as many times as you wish. Again, if you want to reroll a die again and again, you can. But each time you do, your distress increases, and the chances of something terrible happening to you in future increases alongside. Now that is interesting. There's no cap to it, so yeah, you could roll till you get 2 6s. And so get a full 12 plus if you're using your stats on it. Ooh. I guess I like that. I mean, I think you couldn't use it on a escalation check. That was the thing, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay. Getting hurt. So getting hurt covers everything from a serious wound to getting arrested to something less covert. Being isolated from your communities. Being forced to hold up or lose your job, so you have to desperately scrape enough together by getting by. Scrape enough together to get by. Getting hurt means you can't get involved in a radical action for at least a while. Sorry, there you go. Getting hurt fucking sucks, and it takes you out of the action for a while. Okay. Again, did we need that? Yeah, I guess it was trying to do that layout a little bit, perhaps. When you get hurt, the GM will tell you how it happened and what kind of hurt it is. It is always bad. Until you get to a safe space out of the line of fire and away from any violence or risk, you're out. Oh, it's a one and done. Oh, interesting. So being out. So when you're out, all checks turn into escalation checks made against the odds. Wait, all checks turn into escalations made against the odds. So you can't re-roll it and you're at disadvantage. Wow. If you ever get hurt via an escalation check when you're already out, then that's it. You're over. You're dead or permanently unable to contribute further to direct radical activities in the way you have been up until now. Going away for life no matter what you do, forced to go on the run, seriously injured in some way that means you can't make it work anymore. Either way, you're not coming back as a player character, even though you might continue as a character controlled by the GM in some capacity. I think that's up to, you discuss that. I would never play someone else's character without their permission. And even then, I don't think I would. I don't feel comfortable doing that, personally speaking. But that's interesting. Once you're hurt, it's very risky to do anything. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense, like being hurt in the real world and all that. Once you reach a safe place to hole up and work things out a little, you're no longer out. I think that should be in bold. I think the out stuff should be in bold, right? What a safe place looks like will depend on how you got hurt. It might be a safe house out of the way, some friends with a decent first aid kit, or it could be a hospital. The GM will tell you what kind of safe space you need to stop being out. Once you're not out in any way, once you're not out anyway, you still have to recover from getting hurt. There are long-term consequences to consider. I feel like the first bit of that sentence is wild. Once you're not out, you still have to recover. You don't need that anyway there, right? Recovering from getting hurt. So recovering from getting hurt means accepting some short-term bad things in order to get into better shape long term. You need to accept some combination of lost time, so time in the game in which you are recovering, resource expenditure, so money, supplies, or other material resources that will be consumed, exposure, so visibility and vulnerability to ensure future reprisals, to further future reprisals, arrests, or other dangers. Excuse me. Or incapacity, an ongoing inability to do something do something as well. Wait, what? An ongoing inability to do something or do something as well. I think that needs a rewrite, right? That kind of doesn't make sense of a sentence. Like, or maybe this is supposed to be something else. Do something. I mean, I just maybe I'm not reading that right. Recovery requires a little of one of these things and a lot of another. So you have to have these combinations. You have to accept a couple of maybe conditions, perhaps, and then requires one of the things. So a lot of lost time, so a few weeks to a few months, a few hours to a few days. During this time, you're recovering, and you can't fictionally do anything else other than that. Be sat in a jail cell or whatever. A lot of resource expenditure, enough that you can't just use a benefit from your community to pay for it. So your fellow radicals will probably have to do something difficult or dangerous to get it. A little is something that can be a benefit from a community or is easy for your friends to get a hold of. Exposure is permanent and gets marked on your character sheet. Ooh. A lot of exposure puts you on the map with some specific dangerous people. So like an arrest warrant, a hit put out on you, the gang's looking for you actively. A little makes some people wary and suspicious. If you run into someone who is exposed in the future, it's probably an escalation. Who you're exposed to, okay. Incapacity is permanent. It gets marked on your character sheet. So yes, I see. So these two are sort of more temporary, but these two at the bottom here are more, they are permanent. They are for the whole campaign or for the whole story. A lot of incapacity impacts a category of actions that you might perform with a check. When you do any of those actions, you roll against the odds. Alternatively, you can pick a very specific action and you just can't do that at all. If you ever make that check for it, you just fail. A little incapacity represents something less serious but still interferes a little with something specific, like a fear of heights, a dodgy knee, a gut instinct rudeness to the cops. Choose a very specific action or type of actions when you roll against you roll against the odds when you're attempting. Okay, so a little bit lengthy, but I think the thing is, what it's trying to say is that okay, when you are hurt, there are 4 options that the GM, could talk to you about, and 2 of these options I need you to maybe spend some resources or time, and there could be a little of it or it could be a lot of it. And then we got exposure and incapacity. Those are permanent things, but again, there's degrees of a lot of and a little of. And I think I get that, but I think that needs a little bit more explanation here, like or even just like a bit more of a break, perhaps. I don't know. I feel like I understand what it means, but it feels like a lot. So maybe not easy for someone who is coming to this like, wait, what do I need to spend? And it's very loosey goosey, right? I need you to commit to not being in the next session. Your character's not in the next session, so you can play a different character. The exposure and permanent, I would like to see some more examples of what that is. Like, we've got some stuff here. Maybe actually a play example. We've not had any play examples yet, so maybe that's something that you'd put here for an example. Recovering from distress. distress mounts up fast, and to reduce it, kill demons or take downtime. If you're involved in killing demons, lose half your distress rounding down. Ooh. This could be that you fought it or were at risk from it, even if you didn't actually kill it yourself. Exactly, you're just taking part in it. And downtime is where a radical can rest, relax, and recuperate in a safe space. A week of downtime removes a day of downtime removes one distress, and a week or more of downtime removes all distress. Downtime must be somewhere safe, without any stresses out of the ordinary place of life. You can get downtime even if you're working a normal job, as long as you're not harassed by the police, suffering trauma, or facing down demons. Cool. Great. Okay, yeah, easy enough in terms of like getting rid of that stress. Again, feels very much like that Blades in the Dark kind of thing as well. I think I would say I would maybe highlight some of these things, so like making it obvious what it is, if you're just reading it as we're going. All right, communities now. I'm just going to look ahead. Cohesion benefits. Oh, look at that great picture there. Amazing. All right, yeah, that's fine. No, I just wanted to double check, because I'm just checking on time as well. So we've done that. Let's talk about communities. So there's a big difference between a community in general and the kind of community that can rally together and fight demons. Humans are social creatures, and they gather in communities no matter what. But that doesn't mean that every community has the ability to see the truth of things, fight back, and focus their rage into tools of struggle. Those kinds of communities are the ones that live in quiet violence. They suffer from a constant pressing psychic wound. They are excluded outsiders, downtrodden, victimized, or oppressed. They have endured the quiet violence of society and what comes along with it long enough to see the patterns. They're the kind of communities that wake up to reality. Those kinds of communities revolve around a place, an activity, or a collective. And then we've got a really nice image, a black and white image, like pen image, of some 4 individuals coming here, again, probably to a meeting of some sort. Okay, and it says here, places. Places might be a meeting space, an apartment building, a street or two, or maybe it's a workspace or a third space. These communities rally together less around a particular person or people, but instead have a continuity in their physical location. They're connected to this place that they find them. Oh, they're connected by this place that they find themselves all in. I wonder here, and again, I know this is the quick start, so it probably won't matter too much. Is this where you would have like a random rolling table? Because like I like the idea. Instantly in my head, I'm like, yeah, a meeting space, someone's apartment or something like that, or like an office space that you rent out, depending on what kind of community it is. Like like a. I was going to say WeWork, probably not WeWork, but yeah, I'd love to see examples of like roll tables, just to give you some prompts, perhaps, in case you're like me and I have no idea. Okay, activities. So these are bonding experiences that pull people together. They might create things, grow things, build things, experience things. It's not an activity directly related to the reality of things, but there are metaphors to work through here. They're connected by their shared labour and endeavours. So again, here, example of this, is it by, bonding things that pull people together? Is it art? Is it making food? Is it making like donation bags? Is it food banks, that you're giving back to the community? Like, again, some examples there. Is it helping people get through their helping people like move or get into places and make sure that they're okay? Skill sharing, perhaps. Collectives. Collectives are those that form based on ideology or identity, on a political, philosophical, or religious insight and belief that binds people together. They might be a union, a church, a political group, an anarchist collective, an activist movement. They are connected by their beliefs. I like the fact that it could be a religious group as well. Like it, again, in the sense of like coming together for the community. I really like that. And the same with, political group. A union. I mean, those are big right now. Big stuff in the news. I think that's really cool. Again, would love to see maybe a random table, maybe with some names or some examples and stuff, in case, again, you're not sure, you don't know. Because that can absolutely happen. You all need to start somewhere. Cohesion. So communities have a cohesion and provide benefits. Cohesion represents how closely knit the community is, how much pressure it's been experiencing lately, and how much goodwill there is to invest time and effort. If there's more than one radical has the same community on their sheet, then this cohesion is the same on all of them. If it goes up or down, it goes up and down on everyone's sheet. The cohesion is a score for the community and not the radical. Oh, so this is interesting. Does this mean that if we had, say, 4 radicals, we could have up to like 4 different communities that they're a part of? Or maybe like if 2 of them are part of the same community. Interesting. At character creation, each community has a cohesion of 2 plus the number of radicals who are a part of it. There are several ways for a community to gain or lose cohesion, and then it splits off into 2 sort of tables. Gaining it means so gaining cohesion if they gain 1 when a demon that was preying on a community is killed. A wound in a world that was affecting a community is healed. A radical solves a major but mundane problem or issue for that community. Then again, losing cohesion. Communities will lose 1 cohesion when a radical creates a new benefit. Ooh, super low. Radical uses an existing benefit for an additional time in the session or in a way that puts the community at risk. Somebody in the community gets hurt, a radical or otherwise, and the rest of the community finds out about it. Something happens to traumatize or break up a community, mundane or otherwise. Okay, so these are kind of, again, they're a bit maybe vague-ish, like they're not telling you exactly when, but it's giving you some examples of when you could lose cohesion and when you can gain cohesion. I think, like, obviously gaining cohesion makes sense, like, oh, you killed a demon that's preying on the community, but like, I'm thinking like traumatize or break up the community can, that could apply to lots of things. When a community loses a cohesion, it prompts a response. The GM portraying the community presents a problem to the radicals to solve that includes an issue, concern, or stress that the community has. This might be mundane or supernatural, especially if the loss was because of a member of the community getting hurt from a demon. If a community ever reaches 0, then it immediately throws up a response. When it recovers a cohesion, it is back to normal, but until then, no radical can use any of its benefits. Yes, it's again that sort of ideas of factions again coming from stuff like Sodden Vale, Blade in the Dark, obviously the big one there. Yeah. In lots of games have factions in it, but those are the 2 that come to my mind instantly. Okay, benefits. So communities provide benefits to those who are a part of them. Radicals who are members of a community can call on that community to help them at any time. Benefits are one of the following types. We either have a person or group of people, a place that is safe and is marked, or a thing, a resource that is useful. So a group of people that is a part of the community who can help out, give advice, provide expertise or assistance in something related, or otherwise support the radicals in the community. That's that first one. A place that is safe and is marked by the community with artistic expression and therefore cannot be entered by demons. It might also have amenities like equipment, places to sleep, and more. So yeah, almost like a community centre or a safe house. A thing, a resource that is useful to the community that can be called upon. This might be money, materials, access, influence, anything quantifiable that makes sense for the community to be able to provide. To create a benefit, spend a point of cohesion out of the community and describe the benefit, working with the other rascals and the GM as necessary. A radical that's a part of the community writes this benefit on their character sheet. This benefit can be used once per session for free. If the situation is dangerous, draining, disruptive, or draws attention, or if being used at additional time this session, spend 1 cohesion from the community to use the benefit. So yes, so you get it free each session. If you're using it again in that same session for whatever reason, it's going to cost the community. Makes sense. Again, would like to see some more examples. Like, is it a church leader? Is it is it a safe house? Like resource? Like I think just some examples would be good. Maybe again in the full book, maybe there's some more random tables. And then we've got this absolutely gorgeous full color piece here with from the artist. Again, 5 individuals. Looks like they're arguing. There's 2 people arguing. Someone's trying to mediate between them. There's someone that looks like they're crying at the back. And another person is on their computer. Again, it looks like they're talking in some sort of meeting in, I want to say, like an industrial sort of apartment. We've got exposed brick back here. And on the table in front, we've got a spray can. We've got some coffee. We've got some cigarettes, the old-fashioned cigarettes. Cool. All right. Let's go into privilege. Ooh, that was zooming in. So privilege. Everyone has privilege. It might be something that we're born with or something we looked into, but basically everyone has something that the other people don't. That's something to recognize and understand, but in the struggle it can be a powerful tool. So every radical has a privilege which is a persistent benefit that they can access whenever they like. Without privilege, a radical is assumed to live a normal, difficult life with the norms of their wider community. Probably a cramped and poorly maintained place to live, some money to buy the essentials but never quite enough, or living on credit, plus a job that just about keeps the lights on. A privilege can take one of the following forms. We've got 3 examples here. We've got a person, place, or thing. So a person could be someone that will help you out, give you information. Again, we've got that weird sort of like, I wonder if it's, again, we saw it earlier with themselves in one of the earlier pages. I think there's a bit of formatting. I think it's been copied and pasted from somewhere. Or provide expertise. A place is somewhere safe with useful things in it. And a thing like resources, money, material, or something else. Each privilege is specific. It's not just a place. It's a specific place that gives you a specific narrative benefits when you access it. It's not just a thing. It's a specific thing with a particular value and use. You don't have to have a house as your privilege. You have your grandmother's house that you inherited, mortgage paid. Here's a good example there. Right? You don't have an accountant you know. You have a friend from college who is an accountant and will help you out if you ask. Again, another good example there. You don't have just any weapons. You have your collection of hunting rifles. So again, I would maybe just make these like obvious that these are examples. There's a lot of like white space down here. I would maybe put them down here a little bit. That's exactly what I would need is like an example, maybe again a prompt table perhaps, where it's like, okay, you've inherited a lot of money from your mum's granddad's side, maternal grandmother, you know. Again, I'd like to have some prompts like that to help with the backstory perhaps. Again, I'm just thinking of like to make it feel more grounded, more real, perhaps rather than just going, oh yeah, I just got a house, you know. Privilege is something that can come with a downside called a catch. It's not as simple as just a benefit to you. Every privilege also has a catch, which will have one of the following. So we have 3 examples of catches. We've got upkeep, exposure, and inconvenience. I wonder, because we've got exposure on the other thing, I wonder if we'd call it something else perhaps. I don't know. So upkeep, whether you have to spend time or resources maintaining it or it degrades and causes trouble. Exposure, whether it keeps you more on the radar of the authorities than you would like, or forces you to work or associate with people who don't understand your cause and you can't fully trust. And then inconvenience, whether it comes with a duty or obligation that you will have to keep in order to keep a hold of that benefit, or it's difficult to access somehow. Again, this catch is specific, and every privilege has a particular catch. You might have to spend money and time keeping the house. Oh, you have to spend money and time keeping the house up because it's old and not in great shape. Your friend works for the government and you usually have to go and meet him over by the courthouse. You can't keep hunting rifles yourself because your prior convictions, so you have to keep on good terms with the neighbour whose property they're technically on. Again, great examples of catches which link back to these examples here. It would just be nice if we could see them in a box of some sort, like keep them separate. Your community and privilege are essential tools in fighting demons and the world and the wounds in the world they arise from. Okay, how are we doing on time? Okay, I think we'll do wounds and demons, and then it goes into character creation. Okay, so we're only going to do the first chapter. I think I don't want to go too much into character creation. I think we've got an idea. Here's all the examples of the thing. So maybe we'll look at that a little bit. But let's do that first bit about demons and wounds, because I want to. That's the thing I'm keen about. Is like how do we fight them? How do we, the quiet violence about it? So first of all, let's read this box on the side here. So it says a note on disagreements and solidarity. So as you and your groups attempt to tackle the wounds in the world that have opened up and confront real-world issues, you may find you have a difference of opinion on how to exactly deal with them. This is completely normal. No group, even one dedicated to the radical action together, is a monolith. You'll find at times that your personal beliefs, inclinations, and ideologies butt up against each other. Considering we've had words like fuck and shit so far, butt up, I think clash heads is probably better. I just find that quite funny. You'll need to find ways through. Sometimes it's talking out as calmly and honestly as you can. Sometimes it's about agreeing you can't find a compromise and temporarily take temporarily taking different approaches on something. Sometimes it's finding a completely different alternative and recognizing that pushing on that break in the group isn't good for anyone. Ultimately, you will have disagreements. Try to approach them with solidarity. Remember, you're all on the same team, and unless someone is undermining the mission, your goal is to find a way to work with them. There's always a way forward if you look hard enough. And I think this is so true, and I'm glad it said this, because, yeah, I can imagine, like, you're playing a game and suddenly you find out something about another one of the players, that they have a different political belief. They've just never mentioned it before, or, they didn't feel comfortable to mention it. And this is a game where obviously you can talk these things through. I think it's good to mention it, that not only do you have safety tools and stuff like that, but, it is a game about talking things through and understanding as much as you can. And then we've got 3 ways to do about it. I'd also say, be free to, say, can we pause the game and go away or finish the game early? I know that's not what it's saying here necessarily, but I think that's, if you're unsure and you're not making any headway, I think maybe you then need to go, okay, well, let's pause the game here. And I think that's on the GM as well, to be like, okay, sounds like we're not getting anywhere. Let's pack up for now. I guess you don't want to necessarily punish people who haven't, but I think it's important, we wanted to give something space to breathe and so we can talk things out. And you don't want to have that maybe when people are like, okay, but can we go kill the demon now, Okay, so, wounds and demons. So there are wounds in the world. Is it physic? Psychic. Yeah, psychic tears that represent society's inability to process the quiet violence being done. These wounds are particular horrors and debasements that have far-reaching effects, but not ones that are in the open or obvious. As these wounds in the world fester, out crawl demons, physical manifestations of the wound that prey further on those already suffering. I think what's quite interesting, I'm going to say this now, and maybe I've completely missed the mark on this. I quite like that they've not said there's a reason for this all happening. It's just a part of the narrative that because the world is cruel, and it's the societies. It's not done by a magical being. There's not cults trying to bring out monsters, because that would demean and undermine what this game is about. Sure, it's using the allegory of demons in order to give this sort of idea of activism and fighting against things, but it's not we're going to take down the demonic version of Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or anything like that, right? It's about that this society, the way our structures are, certainly in Western societies, probably quite a lot of societies, there's always going to be these tears, and we can only do what we can. And I think that's very important to say that, rather than have it it's because of the big bad, So I think that's good that it's not named that at all. So I think that would absolutely demean and undermine what it's trying to do. Wounds. So, yes, I said that. I've said those. A wound opens when the quality of life of some people in society changes, and they are exposed to deprivation, oppression, fear, or misery. These are about fundamental rights or needs: food, housing, safety, free speech, and so on. But the impacts might not be direct or obvious, and in fact, it's most likely that they're not. Sorry, my stomach is rumbling. For a wound to manifest demons, people have to feel the effects of the wound and some combination of uncertainty about its cause, helpless about resolving it, or be convinced of a simplistic cause that isn't correct. It usually takes weeks for a demon to crawl out of a wound like this, but if the harms are very great or on a big scale, it can be mere days. The community itself does not like to feel like this, in brackets. In fact, it's very likely that they don't, if they're awake enough to reality to support radicals. But the wider place they live, the broader social world, the community is a part of does. Let me read that again, hang on. A community itself doesn't have to feel like this. But the wider place that they live, the broader social world their community is part of, does feel like this. Okay. If the whole society isn't awake, then they drag you down even if you are. Yes, I think I understand that paragraph. A little bit wordy. Maybe we'll change that a little bit. I understand what it is. Basically, it's you and your immediate surroundings would know about this, but the grander world might not know about this because it doesn't necessarily affect them or not realise that it's affecting other people. Sorry, I keep moving back and forth. Let me do this. Nope, that's There you go. There we go. That's a little bit better. Excuse me. A wound is healed when harm is no longer being done, even if for a short time. Though, of course, if it reopens later, it may well create demons again and the cycle might continue. When it closes, any community that was affected by the wound gains 1 cohesion. I think that's the key thing, right? This bit here, it goes, well, it might open again. So it's like, maybe it talks about this in the actual full version, but that idea of like, it's not just a one-off. Like, we have to keep doing activism. We have to keep doing our small acts everywhere we can. And it's hard and it's challenging. That's why it talks about like burnout and de-stress and all that sort of thing. But if we all keep fighting and we all keep pushing and, you know, doing what's right, not just for us but for other people who maybe can't do that, that's the burden is less as a result. So I appreciate that, like yeah, this might happen again. Again, that way of actively sort of encouraging people to be like, no, it's just not one and done. You have to keep doing it. Alright, let's look at demons. Let's summon demons. So demons are horrifying beings incarnated by mental rebellion against society's appalling inhumanity. As such, they are inhuman and have special rules associated with them to represent this. So here's how demons work. They have a physical form, they can see in the dark, they have powers, they have weaknesses called banes, and they have habits. So the physical form, so you can corner a demon, trap it, hurt it. It just can't disappear into the dark, it can't phase through objects or turn into shadows. Whilst it lives, it is real, so very much like an eldritch being. They can see in the dark. That's where they live, and they do not need the light to see. Demons have powers. Some are faster and stronger than humans. Others have special senses. Many have unusual abilities that make them exceptionally dangerous, manipulating the senses, hiding in plain sight, or strange things yet. Demons have weaknesses called banes. Minor banes weaken them or make them vulnerable, and major banes provide a powerful weapon against them. And then finally, demons have habits, ways they hunt, they repeat again and again. Okay. So, fighting demons. So once a demon is out, you can kill it by healing the wound. No baseball bats necessary, but the demon will work hard to stop you. It's defending itself after all. Demons can always sense when people are actively working to heal the wound. It is drawn from and drawn to those people like moths to a flame. Fighting a demon is always an escalation check. So yeah, you need to get over 9 to succeed. But the exact situation depends on whether you're fighting without any banes, a minor bane or a major bane. So, no banes at all. So we roll the escalation check against the odds, so yeah, with a disadvantage, with the goal being escape, rescuing someone, or doing something to get out of alive. Without any banes, you can't have the goal of violence you can't have the goal of violence be to kill it. Without any banes, you can't have the goal of violence to be to kill it. That goal of violence be to kill it. Oh, be to kill it. Okay, sorry, I'm adding another 2 there. So a minor bane is that you roll the escalation as normal, but you still can't kill it. Multiple minor banes is that you roll the escalation check with the upper hand, with the goal being to escape, rescue, or something to get out of there alive. To fight the demon with the goal of killing it, roll an escalation check as normal. One of the minor banes must be specific to the demon. And then major bane, to fight the demon with the goal of killing it, roll escalation with the upper hand. Okay, so this feels a little bit muddy. Again, it's that sort of thing where you need to say to the players, you need a major bane in order to defeat it. You can have a couple of minor banes, but you have to be specific with the goal of killing it. Otherwise, you're just escaping. One minor bane, you're just escaping. You can't kill them. I find that really, interesting. I think you just have to be really straightforward with the players and set those expectations, so that they have to go and look and find these things. Fighting a demon without a weapon is always against the odds. Whether you're armed with a normal weapon or a gun doesn't matter. They're all the same against a demon. To kill a demon, score a number of escalation. Score a number of escalation check equal to the demon's resilience score. Okay. The escalation check though is still a 2d6 9, right? I'm sure we can look at an example in a second. If you kill the demon without closing the wound, then the demon is not fully dead, but is simply discorporated. It will return. It might take a few weeks or even a few months, but it will crawl back out of the wound, mostly the same, but perhaps with a few changes. And then drawing out demons. Sometimes radicals learn that there is a demon preying on their communities and have a good understanding of its habits, but can't track it down. In such a circumstance, they can attempt to draw it out, though doing so is dangerous. To draw out a demon, a radical reenacts the circumstances to which the demon hunts, either literally or symbolically. The radical gains a point of distress, and the demon is drawn to them, hunting them as if they would any other victim. Okay, fine. I definitely think we need an example here, a play example. We can look at about how to do the to kill a demon. How does this work? So I thought escalation checks were. I'm gonna check them out again. They are 2d6, but you have to get a 9, otherwise you get hurt, right? Getting hurt, distress, no. Escalation checks. Here we go. 9 or more is a success. You manage to achieve. Anything lower, you make a distress check to see if you get hurt. Yeah. Okay. Alright, let's look at character creation. So there's some examples here. Oh, I see. You can be part of 2 communities. Interesting. I'm looking at the simple character. It's nice that it's simple. Maybe again, those character sheet ideas I was thinking of. Maybe it literally is just like you could just do it on a piece of like card, perhaps. That might make sense. Oh, that's cool, and also that's really cool as well. Like again, we've got the pronouns. We've got some she, they, thems there. Great. He, hims, she, hers. Nice. And then we've got running the game. Okay, we're not going to look at running the game because we're a little bit out of time. I'm going to zoom forward a little bit because I want to see safe and sensitivity play. Amazing. I do want to see. Okay, and here's some more principles I think we were talking about before for the actual GM about running the game. I like that. Stuff about communities as well. Demons. Portraying demons. There's some examples here. Amazing. I do want to see. Whoa, look at that image. How cool is that? It's like a police officer with like a grinning face, but it's like a shadow. I love that. What a great image. Definitely would have something like that. Like again, I know I keep going on about it. Like merch and postcards and posters. Like I think that image. Again, I like that. See it, say it, sort it. You know, that sort of vibe. I definitely would put that in there, perhaps. Many places, tools of radicals. Oh, that's really cool as well. Again, I appreciate I'm not looking at these in great detail. And there is interesting. Oh, sorry, I'll just do that. That is something in the water is the scenario. I will say that there's poisoning and drowning as a content warnings. As interesting, we don't always get content warnings for scenarios, so very good. I'm just going to move past because I can see there's an image that might be upsetting to people. I'm just going to move ahead. Oh, that's a terrifying image. That demon there. Pipe leech. So, pipe leech. There's examples of its mobility and stuff. I wanted to see if it had what its resilience was, what its challenge rating was. Does it say? So I'm just having a quick look. So we've got some examples of banes. So minor, minor, major bane. Okay. Reality. Oh, that's it. Oh, I was trying to find out how do we. Again, doesn't really. Maybe I misread that then. Hang on. Sorry, I'm just trying to. I want to make sure that I get this right because I think up to then I really get it, but like here. There you go. It says here. Ooh, sorry. To kill a demon, succeed on a number. Oh. I've misread this. So you succeed on a number of escalation checks, depending on their resilience score. So say if their score was 2 or 3, you need to roll over 9 on 2 or 3 checks. Great, so everyone will have something against it. And yeah, if the more base you have, great. But then for that example, sorry, I'm rushing ahead because I want to make sure I get this right. I didn't think I saw. I've got a little bit of reality at the end, which I might read in a second, but I've wanted to check. So I'm reading the thing. doesn't really say, or at least I can't see it quickly. So maybe I'd have to make sure again. Does it say anywhere? I just can't see it. Yeah, it doesn't say it, so that's a shame. Again, maybe that's the thing. I would make sure, like, hey, it is 3. You got to succeed 3 times against it, and the major and all that sort of thing. I think that's the only thing there. But let's read this reality thing at the end, like a final sort of epilogue. Oh, Nathan says, it'll be interesting to see how they balance demon hunting and resistance portions and how they tie them all together. Yes, and admittedly, like I've raced through that sort of final bit there to look at the GM stuff. Maybe that has a bit more advice on how you would do it. Because, yeah, obviously, and maybe that that scenario gives examples of how you would do that resistance portions and stuff like that. I mean, we can, again, tell you what, let me read this final bit and then we'll go into my final thoughts. So it says this reality bit, so this final sort of like epilogue conclusion. So it says, in the real world, there aren't societal traumas that create demons. There aren't demons that hunt down members of vulnerable, marginalized communities and kill them. There aren't brave radicals who go out and fight demons and do their best to heal the worlds in the world. Except yes, there are. Of course there are. This book describes reality. It does it metaphorically, but it's still real. Capitalism creates quiet violence every day that spawns monsters that kill people you love. It takes away your safety, your bodily autonomy, and your sense of self. It isolates you, alienates you, makes you feel helpless and broken when you are powerful. Play is important. Games are a safe space to practice something, sometimes something emotional or intellectual, and it comes to terms with something. They are the ultimate safe space. If you're uncomfortable, you can simply stop playing and just walk out. This game was designed consciously from the beginning to be a safe space to come to terms with the world we live in, to practice stepping outside of your norms and acting in a radical way to protect your communities and change things. Because you're going to need to practice those things, absolutely. The world is fucking dying, choked in heat and smoke and microplastics, and it's not an inevitable thing, an impossible to overcome thing. It's a choice being made. People with power who have made pacts with forces of horror in our world have made an ideological decision to kill millions, maybe billions. They've done it before. They will do it again. They do it every single fucking time unless we stop them. So practice, and when you're ready, stop practicing and do it for real. It's time to get as mad as hell. Amazing. And then a really cool image at the end of a protest happening. Very cool. And then we've got some back stuff then about where we can find it. Which are cool. Great. Well, let's go then to our final thoughts. I very much appreciate. Again, we didn't do that last section, but again, I want to leave some. If you can get this quick start for free. So, what do we think? I think first of all, I like it. It's been the best quick start we've read this week, and I know that's not saying something. I like the idea of it. The artwork is fabulous and great. I like how it's honest about it's okay to practice these things. TTRPGs are the safest space that we can practice these stories. It talks about safety tools. Amazing. I think the system itself is very straightforward. It'll be interesting, as Nathan was saying in the chat, how does it balance this sort of demon hunting and the resistance portions? Maybe that is for the GM later on to do. It is a shame that the GM doesn't get a cool name, like Radicals gets a cool name. And I know that's not the point of this game. I know it's about the resistance fighting and stuff, but if you're trying to get people immersed, get cool names with what people want for it. It is a shame, I think, that we don't have separate character handouts for each of the sheets. Again, I just downloaded the Quickstart. Maybe it does by this point. I don't know. You've got plenty to choose from. I think you had 6 pre-generated characters to choose from. Great. Love that. The artwork's really good. I've said that already. No alt text, which is always a shame. I think, again, if we're talking about accessibility, maybe the demon of alt text comes out. I don't know. I think, the missing. I'm not sure about the resilience score thing. I like the idea, but I need an example. I think maybe that's my big thing, and I know that's wild coming from me who doesn't read play examples. I think for this game, I would definitely like some play examples of a fight with the demon, the final sort of confrontation with the demon. Sorry. Some examples. I'd love to see some more random tables, maybe for examples of different kinds of communities you could be a part of. The privileges as well. Again, I just think I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for players to get into it. And if they're not sure about something, especially like, this might be the first time they're coming to terms with stuff like their own privilege and all that sort of thing. And I know it seems really obvious, perhaps, but, I want people to, this is a game which is about getting into activism and just getting rid of any barriers to stuff, I think would be good. Nathan says the discussion points in the rulebook will match really well with Spire, since both are the focus on being part of resistance. That is a really good point. Yes, Spire from Roan, Rook and Descartes. This idea of the tower itself, the fight between the Drow and the Alfir. Absolutely, very good point, I think. That probably is another touchstone to look at. Obviously, this is sort of based in the sort of grounded in the real world, and so if, for example, you wanted to try out another system which explores similar things, again, it's a very good system to resistance system, and a lot of lore to it as well. So I like that. Like, I guess maybe that's a cool pairing. I guess is an example there of like, if you want to play if you're struggling with getting people into like away from D&D, but you want to cover some of these things, again, with everyone's consent, obviously, then going to Spire to look at the resistance stuff, and then maybe go, hey, a similar game would be Mad as Hell. I agree, that's good. Mad as Hell, again, the base system of 2d6 plus a stat, easy enough to create your own characters, very straightforward. The community stuff I really like in terms of like getting you to think about you outside of your character and how does that work, and I think just being honest about stuff. I feel like the language of it, I think, and I'm comparing this possibly unfairly to the previous Quickstart of Paint the Town Red, which had such a very strong point of view in its sort of terminology and its sort of swearing language display. Obviously, there's only a little bit here, and I don't wish to harp on the point because obviously this is a me thing and everything else. I don't like using swearing in books because I think that can very stupidly put people off, right? Because especially if you're trying to get people into games. But I wanted to say that for the brief sort of swears we have in it, I think they obviously they're trying to show passion, and certainly that final bit, I actually very much appreciate that sort of that epilogue of saying like, hey, come join us when you're ready. The world is fucking dying, and we need you. I appreciate how it's honest about like these things aren't a one and done thing. Like again, it maybe seems very simple, and it only says it once or twice, but it's true, and I think it does it in a way that doesn't feel patronizing or preachy. I think that's the thing, and I know I have this very difficult thing about like tone policing as well. Like, oh, if you just ask nicely, I know that's not helpful, but if you're encouraging people to get in, you want to be welcoming. You want to get people on side. There's no point in getting angry and saying like, oh, you should just Google what you need to do. And I appreciate that comes from obviously your burnout, and obviously you don't want to constantly be the person that answers questions if you're the figurehead or something. So, boo, swearing is cool. Oh, hello, Dead True Fresh. How are you doing, my friend? You've come to the end of this. No, I was just saying, like, again, the Paint Time Red was so much in terms of like swearing and getting to people. It was very evocative and emotive. To the point where I was like, cool, I can't hand this to somebody I don't know because I don't want them to feel like I've this is. I don't want them to feel like uncomfortable with it because people are uncomfortable with swearing and stuff like that, and I know that shouldn't put people off games, but it can do. But also, like, if I was going to run stuff for a stream, I'm not going to be swearing on stream. I feel that there are other ways to get across points that don't resort to that language that could then get people demonetized and all that sort of thing. Like, would I run this game for where or for a stream? Absolutely. I think I think it's done a really good job of getting it through what the themes of it are, and written in a very good simplistic way. Not simplistic, but simple terms about how to run this game. I'd read more. I definitely would read more about how do you run this as from a GM standpoint. Maybe it will tell me more about the actual demon's resilience score as well. Oh, I've been here for a while, just lurking and working. You've been here the whole time. But yeah, no, I'm going to say, yeah, I would recommend this definitely over the For London game. So there's a link in the chat coming through. So yeah, that's where you can get it on the Soul Muppet website. I know that's my US store, but equally go sign up to the Kickstarter as well. It's not out yet. It will be out in probably soon, a couple of months' time. I assume in the summer. And yeah, so if you found this interesting, please go check it out. And yeah, and I think I would run the quick start. It looked from the briefest bit I saw before the stream like something I absolutely would love to do. So yeah, other touchstones, as we mentioned, Nathan talked about Spire in the chat. Absolutely, I was thinking as well, a little bit, not entirely, but like, you know, you think Hunter the Reckoning, that idea of communities and stuff like that, and that pull. It's more supernatural than anything, but you know, it's that with that activism feel underneath it. I think as well the style of it. Weirdly, I want to say the style of it makes me think of Shiver a little bit. Maybe that's just me thinking too much. But yeah, I really hope that this does well. I feel like their other games, you know, Orbital Blues did really well. Arthurian Knights Inevitable did very well. There's other, you know, they have other games out there. This one, I think, right now is the kind of game that people need. And it feels like it's different. We've not had this game before, as far as I'm aware. Like, we've had Spire, but like something that's based in our world that is actively encouraging activism is always good by me. All right, team. Let me go away from small Fiona Face to big Fiona Face. Hello. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this Friday. If you want to know more, my name's Fiona, she, her pronouns, and I am the host of What Am I Rolling, which is a twice-monthly tabletop RPG one-shot podcast where we do lots of different RPG systems and interviews with game designers. We got a new one-shot finally coming out on Sunday. I've just finished it this morning. Hopefully it's good. Agree, it's very timely. Yes, absolutely. Very, very good. Yeah, so yeah, I was going to say the episode that's coming out on Sunday is The Words We Leave Behind, which is a duet epistolary RPG. I finally learned how to say the word, where it is inspired by how we lose a time war. Or is this how we win the time war? I always forget which way it is. I've got it right in the thing. And yes, that's coming out, which I'm very excited for. It's got my wonderful friend Dylan from the One Shot podcast. It's going to be on it. And I hope people like it. I think we came up with a really cool, fun story, and I spent a lot of time yesterday finishing it off. So hopefully people enjoy it as well. And then we've got some live streams happening in about 2 weeks' time. Again, it might have been announced already, but if not, I'll keep stum for a moment because I need to finish off a few bits and pieces for it. If you're like Fiona, this is all very good. Yay for political activism, but I want to know about that Dungeons and Dragons game you keep talking about. I was like, okay, well. We also do the DM's Book Club, a weekly book club podcast where we talk about some Dungeons and Dragons and discuss how we might include them in our role-playing campaigns. I can't remember what episode came out on Wednesday. Sorry, it's been a bit of a busy time here. But go check it out. We try and do different systems. We try and do different topics and look at and stuff that interests us. We're actually going to be starting to do more other RPGs because we talk about so many other RPGs on it. We're actually going to start up the GM's Book Club as well. And our first one, ironically enough, sorry, it's another Rowan Rook and a card game, but we're going to look at Eat the Reich very, very soon. And then the other one, well, I've not edited it yet, so you'll find out. But yes, because we like talking about games. Any game that gets you in, even if it is the old Dungeons and the Old Dragons, if it gets you into playing and creating stories, that's good enough for me. Welcome, we want you here. But yeah, the Ames Book Club, we read the books so that you don't have to. What else is there to say? I'm also one part. Of the RP... Oh, that's not how you spell RP Geeks. Damn. RP Geeks. Of the RP Geeks, which is a nerdy TTRPG show with epic stories and fascinating facts. People who have maybe following them saw maybe this Tuesday gone, we started our Blaze in the Dark campaign, which went off to a cracking start, and I'm very much enjoying it. I love Forge in the Dark games now. I think I've really changed how I love that. Have a rad night and see you next time. Oh, thank you, Dead Toothbrush. I hope you're well, my friend, and have a good weekend. Yeah, come check out the RP Geeks. Yeah, we said we've got next couple of Tuesdays we're doing some more Blaze in the Dark, which I think everyone's enjoying. Like I said, I love Blades in the Dark. I love faction stuff, and I've been in my spare time. I've been doing a little bit of the play test for the Blade 68, and I bloody love it. I think it's great, and yeah, so come check that out. We'd very much appreciate it. And yes, I've got some other Too Long Didn't Reads coming up, but unfortunately, again, I don't know when they're coming out because I can't remember. I'm gonna have to do some reorganizing of my dates because I keep messing up my days and then not doing them, and I really enjoy doing them. I'm glad that we've done this one after Wednesday's catastrophe of the Fallen London Quickstart, which just went Anyway, friends, keep safe out there. Enjoy all your games. I'll be back next week with another Too Long Didn't Read. And yeah, I think that's all it is. But yeah, keep safe, play more games. I'm going to end the stream. I find that button and I'm going to wave. See you soon, friends. Bye.